Hello and welcome to Becoming a Manifesting Machine. This is the tips and tricks and quantum physics behind manifestation. So the purpose of this presentation is to teach you the secrets and the science behind manifestation. I know that I had the must be nice syndrome for people who could manifest because I couldn't figure it out. But once I understood the science behind it, I was able to use it in a way that worked for me. And so this presentation is sharing all those tips and tricks with you. And we're actually going to end with, we're going to debunk the myths. I'm going to give you the 4 major challenges that people face when manifesting, and then how do you overcome those challenges. And I'm actually going to spell out a protocol. It's a 4 simple step process so you can start manifesting immediately. So I'm excited you're here. Thank you for spending the time with me. If you don't know me or don't know me well, my name is Kitty Coy. I'm an international inspirational speaker. I'm a best-selling author. I have a degree in neuroscience from CU Boulder, like my actual bachelor's degree. I have a double bachelor's degree and a minor in neuroscience. And then the other 2 degrees are psychology and integrative physiology. So study the mind, study the body, study of the brain. So I was that kind of science geek. Even from when I was a little kid, I was always fascinated by the brain, the body, and the mind and how they interact and affect each other. So things like the placebo effect and how you can talk yourself in and out of getting sick is what interested me in neuroscience. And then I actually worked as a behavioral neuroscience researcher for almost 10 years. So I was a clinical and a bench researcher, but behavioral neurophysiologist is technically what I was. That's the study of how your brain affects your behavior and how your behavior affects and actually changes the structure of your brain. And so little did I know that that was setting me up very well for becoming a magnetic mind coach, which I've been certified as a magnetic mind coach for 4 years. I've been coaching for 7 years. And magnetic mind is just the concept that when you can tap into your heart's deepest desire, getting through all of the head trash and all of those other things, but when you can tap into your heart's deepest desire and figure out what you want, release any resistance that you have to getting it, which could be fear, self-doubt, procrastination, unworthiness. I do that with neuroscience-based tools. When you can release that and get into action, you become magnetic for your dreams. And I'll say this a couple times, but my favorite phrase is when you take 1 step towards your dream takes 1,000 steps towards you. And so basically I use neuroscience-based tools to do some fun, really advanced mindset work to help people achieve their dreams. I am certified in NLP, IFS, meditation, mindset, super conscious recoding. So I've got all sorts of expertise behind me. And all of these were before I really got into manifestation. So that's why it really clicked and became very easy. But I myself, even before I figured out the formula, was manifesting. I was just what I would call episodic manifesting. I could do it sometimes and I couldn't do it other times, and I couldn't tell what the difference was. But I am truly a manifesting machine for my dreams, which is really fun. In the last 3 years, I've achieved 10 of my lifetime bucket list achievements, things that I was like, before I die, I want to XYZ. And I've been able to dramatically accelerate these things. So I've done 10 of them in 3 years, which I was thinking, these were on my 10, 20, 30-year vision. But that includes, I hiked the Inca Trail. I manifested this incredible vacation and everything fell together perfectly. And I spent a month living on a sailboat in Greece recently. I published my book and became a best-selling author. I opened a wellness center. You'll hear more about that story today. I'm going to tell you about it. And literally exactly what I dreamed of was literally handed to me on a silver platter. It was quite nice. So I am a manifesting machine for my dreams because I've been able to create a protocol. That's as a former scientist, I'm really good at making things strategic and repeatable. So now let's get into talking about, first, we're going to talk about what is manifesting, and then we'll start with the science. So this is just to get us on the same page. Manifesting is making your thoughts into things. Just focusing your attention and awareness and your thoughts on something you want to bring to life and experience in your life. And I love Albert Einstein said this almost 100 years ago. It's like 90 or 85 years ago or something. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want to create, and you cannot help but create that reality. It could be no other way. It's not philosophy, it's physics. And I definitely trust Albert Einstein as an expert in quantum physics. And I spent a lot of time with the impression that manifestation was a philosophy or a religion or some principle that was not a universal scientific law. But again, that's why learning the quantum physics behind it was so powerful. I was like, oh, this is literally just science. It's just not taught very well in the physics, or not taught at all in the physics like we learned in high school and stuff like that. So I'm getting into the science of manifestation. Everything is energy. Albert Einstein said it. I can trust him as an expert. And if everything is energy, that means each of your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, and your attitude each create an energy. And that comes out of your mind or out of your body. So altogether, your 80,000 thoughts a day, there's 126 emotions, but you can cycle through them really fast. The tens of thousands of beliefs that you could possibly have, each of these is creating and projecting an energy outside of you. And it actually creates an energetic field that looks like this. It's like a cake donut that's grown in, there's like no real hole. You're kind of where the hole would be. This shape is called a torus. And this image is thank you to heart math, because heart math actually proved that an energetic field is real. And I mean, yogis and people in India have been calling it your aura or whatever, and talking about it and people in new age religion, all these things have been talking about it for a long time. But now, like, this is a mainstream belief because it can be measured and quantified. And so the average person has a 3 to 6 foot field each way around them, but that's average. Some people, I'm a big energy person. People will describe me as that. Not, you probably picked up, I'm highly energetic and enthusiastic, but I also have energy for days. And I actually have a 16-foot field when it was measured. And so when people say I have a big energy, they're not kidding. So 3 to 6 is average, but when I was in a group, we were measuring fields, most people's were closer to like the 6 foot mark, and mine was 16 feet. So, but this energetic field is actually, we refer to it, in psychology and in the area of field I study, is superconscious. So great question about how it gets measured. How we measured it, as crazy as it is dowsing rods. Like, they help you find water because they find the end of an energetic, like, and I don't really know the how dowsing rods work, but I know that they're really highly accurate for finding, because water carries a lot of frequency and energy. And so you have two dowsing rods, and basically they change at a specific point. And I had somebody else who had gone to heart math and gone through their process or whatever, is certified, and had it measured by heart math. They were in my group, and they're like, it's exactly what heart math said, because she was at like 7 feet or something like that. Yeah, so anyways, we measured it by dowsing rods. It's highly accurate, but very interesting. So in the field of psychology that I work in, and is we call this energetic field your superconscious. So what is the superconscious? When I was starting in college, I heard this term only a couple times, even though I did a 5-year degree in psychology. But your superconscious is a level of your consciousness. So you've probably seen this iceberg analogy before, but there's a new part that you've never heard of, I would guess. So your conscious mind is the ice above the water, and that's it's a lot of things. It's your conscious awareness at this moment, but we're gonna simplify this down to say it's your thoughts. And then your subconscious, and these are accurate representations, if not saying your subconscious is even bigger, something like 95% of your mental activity is actually in your subconscious. So there's a much larger piece of ice below the water level in the iceberg. And your subconscious is a lot of different things, including your autonomic reactions, like your heartbeat is subconscious. Thank goodness. Otherwise, you'd have to think about your heartbeat and things like that. Your beliefs, your emotions, your personality, your body language. There's all sorts of these different things that are in your subconscious. But for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to simplify that down to your emotions and your beliefs are in your subconscious. And then your superconscious, that's the water around the iceberg. And your superconscious is the energetic field around you. And it actually creates the results in your life. And I'll explain how. Your superconscious is always taking instruction from your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And so when you're in alignment, it's easy to manifest or to create things. You're like, oh, and I say this things like this all the time, like, oh, wouldn't it be really nice to have, I'll be on like on vacation, I'll be like, wouldn't it be nice to have an ice cream sandwich? And someone will walk up and be like, do you want an ice cream sandwich? I'm like, how did I do that? It's because I'm in alignment. I think I can, I think I can get an ice cream sandwich. I believe it's possible. And so my super conscious, because I'm in alignment, it's like a fishing pole. They're the fancy fishing poles that break into half. When you're in alignment, it just goes out and then attracts the energy of whatever your thought is and reels it back in like a fishing pole. Here's the problem. In that fishing pole analogy, most of us live out of alignment. I want to be abundant, but I have energy patterns, emotions, and beliefs about scarcity or living paycheck to paycheck. So if you were trying to cast out a fishing pole, but it's the, like I said, the kind that's broken in half, and you haven't put it back together, you're not going to go very far. But and so it is always going to default to what the subconscious mind tells it to do, which is why we just recreate the past again and again and again and again in our lives. Whether that's like we get a new partner and they're the same type of partner, we had that didn't work last time, or whatever that is, we default if there's a lack of alignment. We'll talk a little bit more about alignment later. When there's a lack of alignment, it will always default to the subconscious. And so basically, this is the biggest thing that prevents us from being able to manifest, because I'll give you another example. Is I win raffles. I win raffles at this insanely high rate. It's like 2/3 or more of what I enter. I win door prizes and things like that. In fact, I won something this weekend, and I didn't even know I had entered into something. And so what happens is I think I'm going to win, or I have a desire to win. And then I have the belief that I can win, because there was one time where I really wanted the specific like door prize or raffle or whatever. And I was calling it in. I was like, I'm going to win this. And I did. So now all you need to do is do something once and you can create a belief around it. So I want to win. I believe I can win. The super conscious is what goes out and wiggles this business card into people's fingers, so my name gets drawn. So it is really fun. I could talk about this for hours. I work mostly, I work at all 3 levels of consciousness, but I spend the vast majority of my mind supporting people in their super conscious, and shifting that. And it feels like magic because it is so powerful, but it's really quantum physics and neuroscience. So enough about consciousness. Now let's get into quantum physics. Oops, sorry, my computer is taking a moment. There we go. So there's 2 phenomenon that we're going to talk about that explain quantum physics phenomenon that explain how manifestation works. The double slit experiment is 97 years old, from 1927, and they've been conducting the variations of this experiment continuously for 97 years, because they're trying to understand how they could get these results that don't make any sense, and what are the edges of where quantum physics starts to break down. And so I want to share before I start that these pictures are not amplified. It is the same magnification of a piece of paper. It's a photoreactive paper. Basically, the long story short of what they did is scientists had a machine that would fire single electrons at a time through a gold sheet that had 2 slits in it. And then there was photoreactive paper. And I like to say that, they started the machine for firing the electrons, and then they went to lunch. And when they came back from lunch, they saw that the pattern on the photoreactive sheet looked like this not observed pattern. It's a wave. And so then everything in science is repeated again and again and again. So what they did is they repeated again, but they were actively watching it. And it showed up as this pattern, which is a particle. And they were like, wait, why did it change? And so that's when they started to modify these things. And what they found is electrons act differently when a human consciousness observes them. And that doesn't make any sense. Like, that is why they've been studying it for a really long time. And so what they did is, like, some of the variations is they had a camera watch the electron, they had a computer watch the electron machine. It showed up as not observed. They had an animal watch the electron machine. It showed up as not observed. They had a camera that was live streaming to a human scientist who watched it live. It showed up as observed. They had the same scientist watch the recording an hour after it happened. It showed up as not observed. And so this is why they keep repeating it. It's fascinating. What do you mean electrons act differently when they're consciously observed? So what this means is your consciousness affects matter and changes the outcome. Like literally, that's what this means. And the whole double slit experiment, like that doesn't make sense. What do you mean conscious observation changes the physical world and how electrons associate and connect with each other? So that is, I could talk, well, I don't know if I could talk about it, but a quantum physicist could talk about this forever. There are tens of thousands of pages of scientific papers written about this phenomenon, but really the only sentence you need to remember is your consciousness affects matter and changes the outcome. So why is this important for quantum physics? Observing your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors actually changes the outcomes in your life before they come to you. So like, let's say you're on a tough trajectory right now, or things are going really, you're having some challenges in life, but you do like some inner work or some mindset work. You start focusing on improving negative thoughts or switching your internal monologue. You start spending time visualizing and bathing your body in new emotions. You start having more positive behaviors and habits. You are actually changing the outcomes that are coming to you in your life. So I find that to be very interesting that we absolutely affect the world around us. So on to the next phenomenon in quantum physics that explains why manifestation works. And Albert Einstein famously described quantum entanglement as spooky action at a distance. And again, this doesn't make any sense. And I want to share just we've been taught in high school Newtonian physics, which breaks down at a specific level once you get really, really, really small. And so this is like a different school of thought in physics that explains the phenomenon where Newtonian physics is what we've all been trained in. When that breaks down and doesn't work, we go into quantum physics. So I just wanted to share that that's why some of the things that I'm talking about, it's like, well, it doesn't necessarily make sense. So quantum entanglement is two particles that are connected. And no matter if you have these particles that are connected, no matter how far you take them apart, you affect one particle, you instantaneously affect the other particle. And they've done this, they've actually done this and pulled these particles and taken them to opposite ends of the earth. And it's not even a fraction of a millisecond later. If you shake particle A or do something to it, the same thing happens to particle B. Well, the fastest known phenomenon in the universe is the speed of light. And it would take something like 4 minutes. It takes 8 minutes for the sun to reach the earth. So it takes something like 2 to 4 minutes or something like that. I'm forgetting my measurements now, but it would be a delay if it was going by the fastest known thing that we understand. But somehow when you entangle these particles, they are instantaneously affected when the other one is affected. And I know they've done some fun twin studies around this where like something when identical twins where something happens to the twin, like one of them has a heart attack, the other one doesn't matter where they are, they clutch their chest and they're like, oh my God, my other twin had a heart attack, because they are connected in some way we don't understand. And that's why it's called spooky action at a distance. So what does this have to do with manifestation, you might be asking? You and your desired outcome are two entangled particles, because when you have your dream has you too. And so you are just as connected you're just as connected to your dream, and it's all of your dreams that you have, you're connected to them. So and the same thing we were talking about a minute ago, as you improve your thought processes or change aspects of your life, you're actually affecting the likelihood, increasing or decreasing the likelihood that your dream is coming to you based on how you're affecting yourself, because you are an entangled particle. So I hope that makes sense. Again, I am giving you the super duper Cliff Notes version of very interesting phenomenon. But now that we know a little bit about the quantum physics, we're going to just go a little bit deeper to explain how this applies to manifestation. Energy attracts energy. And so we naturally align with similar energies. And I think this is really interesting. Some of the friends, like I have an old friend that I was in a more depressed phase of my life, or depressed or angry or whatever. And this friend, I see her occasionally, and I saw her recently. I was like, she has a radically different vibration, but I was attracted to her and we were friends and we were really tight at that point when I was in this vibration. So have you ever been walked into a big room of people and then sat down or started talking to somebody and they randomly have a bunch of similarities as you? It's not coincidence. You were unconsciously feeling the energy of that person, and it was in alignment. And so you were attracted to them. So like attracts like, and it's your energy field. It's your super conscious that's doing the attracting, because remember, that's holding your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, all of that's being held in your field. And so it's being then projecting. Yes, serendipity, coincidence, all of these things are just ways that we describe these phenomenon. We can sense them, but we don't always consciously sense them. But these phenomenon that we experience in our life. And serendipity was my word of the year a couple of years ago, because it happens in my life all of the time. So I just love it. And again, it's your energy field that's doing the attracting. And remember, your energy field is dictated by your subconscious beliefs and emotions. So I was in a personal development thing, and they were saying, they were talking about relationships and explaining this phenomenon in a real life example. They said, if there's a woman who has a history of being in a relationship with like a really domineering kind of like jerk man, you can put 99 men that are amazing in a room and one jerk, and she will be immediately attracted to go to him, because that is what her beliefs and her emotions have been aligned with. So it's really fascinating how we attract people and situations into our life based on our beliefs and emotions. So I explain this in another example that you probably experienced is, have you ever had one of those days where like, I'm having a great day, and then you drive and you hit all green lights, and then you go somewhere and you get like the best parking spot, and then you find out that you get a bonus at your job or whatever, and like all of these things, you just have good thing after good thing after good thing happen in a day. And the same thing happens when we have a bad day. We wake up, something happens, like the shower runs out of hot water or something. And then we're like, ugh. And then we, walk out, we spill coffee down our front. We're not able to change our shirt. Like we just have, I've heard people say when it rains, it pours for negative things or positive things. What they're explaining is that their energy field is attracting things, because your subconscious works to prove you right. And if your subconscious is putting out a signal and says, I'm having a bad day, the superconscious says, great, I'll attract things that will make you have an even worse day, because I want you to be right. So as crazy as it is, that's how it works. And if like attracts like, love attracts love. So this is this emotion frequency chart was written by and created by Dr. David Hawkins. It's called The Map of Consciousness. I don't and it was published in the book Power versus Force. Highly recommend reading this book. I don't have time to get into how he created it and whatever in this conversation, but these are the measured levels of frequency associated with each emotion. So as you might have, so each emotion has its own energy level. And as you may have noticed, emotions that we don't enjoy experiencing and want to experience less have a lower frequency. And emotions that we want to be experiencing more have a higher frequency, a higher level of energy. And so basically what this is saying, and a lot of the work I do, I have a biofeedback device that rewires your brain for more happiness and success and all sorts of cool things. It's all based on the frequency of emotions that we're experiencing in our subconscious. So when you have these higher level emotions, you attract better things to you. Like, I don't know if you have an experience of this, but when I was in the honeymoon phase with my husband, everything in my life was great. My job was going well. I would meet people in the grocery store and they would become my new best friend. Like when I'm in love and in a great place, just all of these inexplicably amazing things are happening to me, because I'm vibrating at a level of love, and that's a high level. It's attracting better things to me. And notice that it says at the level of 500, this actually dissolves negativity. It kind of like melts those negative emotions out of you. So one thing I want to share, like I said, if you want to learn more about this, read the book Power versus Force. It's fascinating. Dr. David Hawkins is really cool cutting edge in the psychology and all of this stuff. And so the beingness of gratitude, not temporary gratitude, oh, thank you for giving me a coffee, like the beingness of like, I'm just deeply grateful for being alive. I'm grateful for this moment and then this moment, and you're just in a place of deep love and gratitude for your experience, is actually measured at 900, which is and that was done by some monks or whatever, that they like practice deep gratitude as a beingness. And notice that enlightenment is 700 to 1,000. So gratitude is basically at the level of enlightenment. And the reason why I'm sharing with you that gratitude is this highest being level is gratitude is the way to pull yourself up this chart. And so, and I'm not saying like negative, or there's no negative or positive, but like these lower level emotions we don't enjoy experiencing, because good or bad, negative or positive, that's a judgment I'm placing on those. Like if you just had somebody pass away, being in a place of grief or fear is very reasonable emotion. So it's not a bad emotion. But anyways, these lower level emotions that we probably want to be spending less time in, um, these emotions all have their place. And so I'm not saying like, oh, just pretend you're in love, like pretend you have gratitude. It's important that we feel and honor all of our emotions. But what I'm saying is when you're done with whatever level of emotion you're on and you're wanting to move up this chart, focusing on gratitude has been the number one most powerful thing you can do to pull yourself up in the frequency level, because it's basically like if you spend 5 minutes in gratitude, but right now you're at 150, you're spending 5 minutes at 900. And so you basically average it. So that's how it literally numerically pulls you up. So the number one myth about manifesting, like movies and books like The Secret, if you watch interviews with the lady that wrote The Secret, she talks about it, but she never mentioned it in the book. And it's actually been a big criticism that's created this popular image that like if you think positive thoughts, positive things will come into your life. And that's only a fraction of the equation. And it's not the most important half. And so, but it's created this image. All we need to do is think positive, and then these good things will happen to us. But in reality, the other half of that equation is you have to take action. Like if you're like, I want a lake house, like this beautiful house in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho on the lake, but you spend the rest of your life sitting on your couch manifesting, like visualizing, daydreaming, being in gratitude for this house, but you never get off the couch, the likelihood that someone's going to walk up to you and just hand you this house is pretty much non-existent. But when we get into action towards our goals, like I said, when you take one step towards your dream takes 1,000 steps towards you. And the story of this is me and my husband high-fiving in front of my clinic. So this is exactly what happened. Understanding manifestation. This was the first time I really got a handle on this equation many years ago. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. I had been visualizing, I wanted to open a wellness center, and I've been wanting to open it. I've been visualizing it every day for 4 years. And it was a big part of my vision, how I wanted to move forward in the world and provide value and service and support all these alternative wellness practitioners and having a space so we could all together heal the world. And I was really attached to this idea, but I was never taking action in the 3D world. And to give you a frame of reference, I had a vision coach who called me on it, but a frame of reference, this is early May 2020. So the world was still locked down. Things were barely opening up in the state that I'm in. And she was like, so why don't you open a wellness center right now? And I was like, no, that's crazy. Like, and I gave her a laundry list of excuses and reasons why I couldn't open a clinic. And it was a bad idea financially to sink money into a brick and mortar and all these things. And she was like, well, if this dream is important to you, you have to find a way to take action in the 3D world. I'll see you in 2 weeks. So I meditated on it. I reflected on it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a great project manager. I have a ton of experience in that. I was like, I could reach out to a wellness clinic around me, and I could offer to project manage their PPE, like protective equipment, personal protective equipment implementation. And like now that they're having to do things totally differently, like I could manage that project, so they just need to worry about healing people. And then once we get through the hurdle of this, then they could mentor me and teach me about sales tax and the things I wanted to know so I could be successful. I was like, yes, my action step is I'm going to manage somebody else's clinic. And I got really clear in what I wanted. I wanted that wellness center to be within 15 minutes of my house. I wanted it to be less than 3 to 5 hours a week. And I wanted this to be somebody who really wanted to mentor me and like really increased my success for me opening my clinic and making it easier for me. So I was like, well, what do I do? What's my action step in the 3D world? I was like, I don't know, I'll write a resume. How else are you going to get a job? So I started writing this resume, demonstrating my project management experience and my value and all of that. And I was like, I guess step 2, I don't really know what it is. I just drive around all the clinics within 15 minutes of my house. Didn't really have a step 2. It's like 3 to 5 days later, I find myself, and the funny thing about time is it's not real. I had booked this connect with this person like a month earlier before I even decided any of this. And 3 to 5 days after I started writing my resume, I was in a connect with a woman and I was like, well, so how can I knew she was in the wellness industry. I was like, well, how can I support you? Life must be kind of hard right now. She was like, well, I'm moving to Arizona, but I'm keeping my clinic open in Denver. Do you know anybody who wants to manage a clinic? I was like, listening, tell me more. She's like, it's 14 minutes from your house. It's a maximum of 3 to 5 hours a week. And I would love eventually when I move my clinic to fully to where I'm moving, I want that person to be able to take over that space for me and kind of like carry the legacy with a new business, but a legacy in that unit of it being a wellness center. And I was like, oh, it's me. And she hired me on the spot. I became the manager for her wellness center. But what I wanted to, the most important part of this story is I took one action step. My dream took 1,000 action steps towards me. What I wanted was literally handed to me on a silver platter. But the most important thing I want to point out is it doesn't need to be the right action. And I think this is where people get hung up all of the time. And I know for me, analysis paralysis, it needs to be the one action that's going to get me there. So I wrote a resume no one ever saw. And yet the act of writing a resume, taking actions in our 3D world was all I needed to do to prove to the universe that I was like, I'm serious about this. And what I wanted was literally handed to me on a silver platter. So anyways, and it doesn't have to be the right action. It just needs to be an action. Yeah, sales karma. I love that idea. And there's an element of altruism and things in that. But yeah, so it's whatever we want to create. It's about taking the action that we think. And here's the thing is it's the most aligned action we can think of at the time. Like it doesn't, again, don't spend a year analyzing the action. It's just what do you think seems like the best and most aligned action at this time? So we're going to jump really quickly through the 4 major challenges with manifesting and how to address each and every one of them. So the number one problem where we get, and again, these are 1 through 4, but they're not necessarily in order, but we get really attached to the outcome or the path of what we're manifesting. And a perfect example of this is I had a manifestation statement for the first few years of my business is I want to make more money in my business. And so that's what I was working on manifesting. And I did, I had this like incremental progress. I would go up a little and plateau and up a little and plateau and up a little plateau because I was so attached to making more abundance through the path of my business. And then about a year ago, there's a trip I really wanted to go on, and it happens every September. It's an event in Greece, and I really wanted to go in 2023, but the cards didn't line up. And especially it was when we were looking at finances, we're like, oh, I just published a book. And so I had spent basically a huge chunk of my business savings on that. And so I was like, oh, it's just not in alignment to go. So I got really, really serious. And I said, and I changed my manifestation statement to, I want to make more money. Like I'm receiving more abundance, period. Doesn't have to be through my business or not, but just letting go of the path of making more money in my business. It is insane the amount of money I started just magnetizing and manifesting out of nowhere. And it came in the strangest ways. I would walk my dog and find $100 bill in the street. And this happened multiple times. I would, in different areas, I was talking to somebody and they're like, I want to pay you a $300 retainer fee to maybe speak at my organization in 2026. Oh, okay. And it's somebody, and they're like, long story short is she's like, you'd be a perfect facilitator. I want to give you a deposit now. And I was like, okay, so I'll speak for whatever, because like she's paid me that fee, but I was like, what do you mean? You don't know when, you don't know if, and she was like, but I insist on giving you $300. And then I loaned camping equipment to somebody so that they could take it to Burning Man. And they're like, I just want to give you $300. And I kept getting $100 and $300 again and again and again and again from these totally unexpected sources. And I had originally priced out my trip to be that it was going to be $6,000 to $8,000. And I manifested in less than 6 months, $6,000 outside of my business, just randomly people giving me money. And then I was able to also manifest a lot more. In a year, I quadrupled my monthly income, which is just, I mean, that exponential growth I'd been looking for the whole time. But what it was is I had been too attached to the path. An example of this is like when you order in a restaurant, you tell the wait staff, I want a Western omelet, add in mushrooms, hold the tomatoes, and a fruit cup instead of toast. But when you're so attached to the specific outcome or the path, you don't trust that waiter to relay the message, and you walk in. It's like walking into the kitchen and telling this guy how to cook your meal. And so when you're so specific or so attached, you actually block your ability to receive what you want. So you want to be clear and specific. And then I say this or something either better still is how I let go of the outcome. Because this or something even better still, like that woman, I was just hoping for who handed me my clinic. I was just hoping somebody would train me really well. And not only did she train me, she handed me the location. She sold me all the furniture. She like basically set everything up. So everything was really easy for me to step into my dream. And I was doing her a favor and she was doing me a favor. And so that's why we want to be clear and specific of what we want, but let go of the outcome. So taking it back to the restaurant example, if you're like, okay, so I want I would love ham, but then your omelet comes back. It's like, well, all we had was, prosciutto and bacon and the fancy kind of ham that's they feed the pigs only chestnuts. I forget what it's called right now, but it's like, uh, $500 a pound or something. If you're like, I'll take a ham sandwich, but they gave you that $500 a pound ham, wouldn't that be even better still? So that's why we want to be clear in what we're ordering, but not so clear or not so specific that we need it to come a certain way, because oftentimes it's going to come in a completely different way than we expect. So this is actually the number one way that we block ourselves from being able to manifest is it's not a real desire, and yet we think it is. And so, yes, absolutely. I totally believe that the best thing is multiple income streams from all these ways and letting money flow to you. I used to be in this hustle energy where I would chase after, and I would chase after sales. I would do these things, but I was in this push energy. So I was pushing and hustling, and I was pushing everybody away from me. And as soon as I shifted into that like receptive space and said, I'm going to make money and I don't know how, and I let go of it, and I just kept taking the most aligned action step every day, it is crazy what came to me. So, but talking about a real desire is it needs to be a real desire. And a real desire is something you want because you want it, and there's no other reason behind it. So if you have some sort of secondary intentions, it's not a real desire. So I would say 99 out of 100 people that I've ever done manifesting machine like support calls or coaching calls, everybody says, I want more money or abundance. But here's the problem. Money is a vehicle. It's not the destination. And you want to focus on whatever the money is going to get you. So for me, when I have more abundance, it's travel. It's, having a landscaper that takes care of my property. It's having more support in my business. So my real desire is not the money. I don't want money because I want to swim in a swimming pool of money. I want the support in my home and in my life. I want the support in my business, and I want the freedom and liberty to travel more. So when I focus on manifesting travel, it becomes a lot easier. But if I try and focus on manifesting money, it actually keeps me stuck, and it keeps the money from flowing to me. And so I love this. And I put this picture up because it's an amazing example. Is our ego, especially when we're talking about money, our ego is driving the secondary intentions. And I used to say a long time ago, I was like, I want to make $100,000 in my business. And this is what my ego was saying. I want to make $100,000 in my business. Well, why do I want $100,000? And again, getting to the real desire is just asking, well, why do I want that? Why do I want that? Until you arrive at an answer and determine, is that the same place you started or not? And so I'm giving you my real life example of what I did. I want to make $100,000 in my business because less than 10% of coaches ever reach that $100,000 mark. And, and if I do reach that $100,000 mark, then that means I'm like special, I'm elite, I'm like cream of the crop. And when I kept drilling down into it, I wanted to make the $100,000 was about proving to myself that I'm a good coach and I'm special and like all these things. When in reality, if I could just accept my greatness as I am right now, I am special. I am a great coach and all of these things. So when I shifted out of, and it can be as subtle as I want to make $100,000 in my business, to now my manifestation power statement um in my life and business is I want an abundantly full coaching practice. And because it's not about being successful, it's about abundantly full. To mean just means I am helping the maximum amount of people that I can at all times. And why do I want to help people? Because I like to help people. And why do I like to help people? Because I like to help people. There's nothing behind it. Like, if, and honest to goodness, if money disappeared tomorrow, I would still do my same job, even if I never got anything for it, because I do it because it lights me up to see people and to support them through these challenges and to help them find these conclusions so they can create new results in their life. Like, I get jazzed up by that. And that's how I've been able to manifest so much, is that's my higher self. And my higher self is, giving me this desire. And my real desire is I want to help as many people as possible because I want to help people. And I want to make, and the reason why it's a lot is I just want to make a big difference. So hopefully that made sense in the real desire. But really what gets in the way of our real desire is we have a problem solving mindset. More than any other country, the United States is formed actually in problem solving. What was the problem? Overtaxation from England. What are we going to do? Throw tea in a bay, have a revolution. So what happens is we are born, bred, and conditioned, and other countries have this too, but it's really strong here, is we're trying to solve a problem. We want abundance because we're sick of being broke. We want health because we're sick. We want love because we're lonely. We want something not because we actually desire it, but we're trying to get away from its opposite. And so what happens is when you're trying to move away from something you don't want in your life, you actually have a tension relationship with that thing. When you're like trying to push it away and get away from it, it's like your hand gets stuck to it. And so no matter where you go, you're in this energetic relationship with that thing, and it'll follow you again and again and again. And that's really the problem with our getting to our real desire, is most of the time when I'm talking to people, they want money because they're sick of being broke. So money is not a real desire. So when we're focused on the problem, we'll have more problems. Like when you're in a problem solving mindset, you're focused on the problem, you will have endless problems to solve. And that sounds in your life like, and like when I hear people say, well, when the kids graduate, then I can travel. When I lose the weight, then I can do the boudoir session or whatever that is. But they're focused on fixing the problem of, not having the freedom and liberty because they're taking kids, or, the time and energy to travel, or that they're the problem of I want to get rid of this weight, then I can have what I want. So anytime you're saying when X, then Y, you are in a problem solving mindset. And the problem with a problem solving mindset is when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. So now let's talk about the conscious creation mindset. It's about getting clear in what you want and why you want it. And keeping your eyes on the goal no matter what happens. And once you get clear in what you want and you have this clear, it's like, okay, it is a real desire. You visualize it. And by visualize, you don't need to. I have people who visualize very successfully without ever playing a movie in their mind. They literally, all you need to do is be in the emotion of what you desire and the energy as much as you can, or go through the 5 senses of what visualizing it would feel like. So when I was visualizing my trip to Greece, I could hear the waves lapping against the boat. I could feel the gentle rock of the boat and the sun on my face, and I could smell the salt water in the air. I could taste the red wine. I could hear the laughter and chatter of people on the boat, and I could literally sensorize. And then I was in the emotion of gratitude and pride and joy and contentment in the moment and all of that. So the next step is then start taking baby steps in towards what you want to create. Way before I was able to afford the trip, I started like browsing and just looking, well, how much does a flight to Greece cost? And what are some of the best islands in Greece? What are the best beaches? And I just would take research, or I would research and take little steps towards what I wanted to create. Because that was the only thing I had like access or availability to do. And the most important thing is taking action steps regardless of the external circumstances. Because what happens that puts us from conscious creation back into problem solving, like I had a client that found me and started working with me because she kept manifesting. She wasn't actually manifesting on these negative things. She was manifesting the timeline around these things. But in a span of 3 years, she had 7 like tragic things happen. And what she was doing is she wanted to launch her business. She was a full-time mom and a hobby business enthusiast, basically. And her kids were getting older. And so she was like, I want to be a part-time business owner. So what she did is she would launch her business and say, I'm going to launch, she was a hypnotist, I'm going to launch a hypnotism group on XYZ date. Well, within 7 to 10 days of saying what her date was, she'd have freak accidents and family emergencies that happened in her life. Her son broke both of his arms, so she put her business on the side to take care of him. Her sister got in a car, and she had no control over any of these like freak accidents, but her sister got in a car accident and was injured and didn't have a car and needed to go to doctor's appointments. So she put her business to the side. And where she was consciously dreaming and consciously creating her business and launching it, but she was taking external circumstances and basically using it as any excuse that she could to put her dream on the side. And so she did this. It was 7 in 3 years, 7 major tragedies, including custody suits and the car accident. It was just crazy what was happening again and again. But where she went wrong is that she took her eyes off the goal. Like, if her son broke both his arms, could she still have done 1 social media post a day? She absolutely could have found the time. She could have said, I will work with 1 client and I will see them once a week, and I will find time, that I can, I can live in the land of and, is what I like to say. You can work towards your dream and deal with whatever external circumstance. And when people are in that place of like, there's nothing that's going to stop me, I might have to scale down in what I'm doing, but I'll never take my eyes off the goal. That is when you're in the conscious creation mindset. And we just create so much momentum. But the problem is, so many of us take this as signs from the universe that we're not meant to do it at this time. And we tell ourselves all sorts of things that pull us off the goal. So reason number 3 why we don't have what we want yet is we don't have the identity of what we're wanting to create. So let me tell you a story about a man and a boat. This is a real life story that I loved. I heard it from my mentor, and he works with really high level people. This guy lived in the Gold Coast of Australia, and really he had a house on a lake, but he didn't have a boat. And he was saving up. He's like, I really want this $250,000 speedboat, whatever. And he had been working for 10 years trying to manifest the money for this boat. No matter what, he would make a bunch of money, get really close to the deposit or down payment or whatever. And then his car would break down or something. He would have it and then he wouldn't, and he would have it and he wouldn't. So after 10 years, he came in my mentor and said, I want to manifest this boat. My mentor said, great, go buy a kayak. And the guy's like, no, I'm not going to buy a kayak. What I want is a speedboat. And every penny I'm saving is going towards this speedboat. And my mentor said, shut up and buy a kayak. So the guy bought a kayak, was on the lake every single day. And then all of a sudden, things started to flow in his business. And he upgraded from a kayak to a dinghy to a motorboat. And I don't know boats well enough, but it's like he went from a $200 boat to a $1,000 boat to a $10,000 boat to a $100,000 boat to a $250,000 boat in 18 months. He had his speedboat because he had the identity, just the act of kayaking. He had now trained his subconscious. It's okay for me to be a boat owner. I own a kayak. Yes, it's not the type of boat I want to own, but it's about having that identity. And then your subconscious it'll stop fighting you, and it'll start doing things in your life to prove you right. So how do you create the identity of what you want? You focus where, whatever you want in your life, you focus on where you have it already. So if you're lonely, focus on where do you have the love in your life? Maybe you have the love of a family member or a pet or something, but everyone always has love. And so if what you want is to not be lonely, focus on where you can see the love in your life. If you're working on improving your health, you feel sick, focus on where you have health. Where can you really be like grateful? It's like, okay, well, I might have this issue or disease or symptom, but my brain still works, my lungs still work. Like focusing on the areas of your life where you do have health. And if you're in a place of, yes, exactly, start where you are and baby steps. So if you're in a place of scarcity now and what you want is abundance, focus on where you have abundance and where you have abundance in your life, and really magnify it. So I do this practice of, I have an abundance of air, I have an abundance of fresh water, I have an abundance of love from my dog. Like I can focus on where I have the abundance in my life. And that is a major step in me manifesting more financial abundance because I will see that I am already abundant. And that's all it is. It's proving to myself that I already own the boat. So the very last place, we talked about it a little bit already, the very last reason why it's hard for us to manifest is we're out of alignment. And there needs to be alignment between your conscious mind, your thoughts and your desires, and your subconscious mind, which is your beliefs and emotions. Again, if your fishing pole is broken in half, you are not able to create this. This is being out of alignment. But when you can get in alignment, you are actually able to manifest and pull in these amazing things in your life. And really, if there's one reason, one thing that prevents us from being out of alignment, it's and living in this place where, I want abundance, but I believe in scarcity. It's the traumas and the limiting beliefs in our life that are stuck in our subconscious that keep us in this place of fear, recreating the past again and again, and keeping us stuck out of alignment. So that's really what I do with my clients is I support them in getting into alignment using neuroscience based tools, because you will always, and I'll repeat this a couple times because it's so important, you will always get and manifest what you subconsciously believe that you deserve, not what you consciously want. So you will always, what you unconsciously think you deserve is exactly what you will recreate again and again and again in your life. So it's really about, how do I get rid of the traumas and the limiting beliefs so you can snap into alignment to start becoming a manifesting machine. So this is the screen you've been waiting for this whole time. These are the 4 simple steps to start manifesting. And I say simple, these aren't always easy, but they're very simple in what you can do, and you can start these today. Number 1 is get clear on your real desire. What is it you want for no reason other than you want the experience of it? Which is why it was so easy for me to manifest the Greece trip. Why did I want to go to Greece? Because I wanted to go to Greece. There was nothing behind it. So when you have your real desire, you're tapped into it, you visualize it daily. And again, as a reminder, visualization is getting into the feeling the emotions right now. Like I felt the presence and the gratitude and all of this. I could experience it with the 5 senses. And the reason why visualization is so important is your subconscious mind actually can't tell the difference between reality, like that's happening outside of you, TV, and what you're visualizing. Your subconscious mind can't tell the difference. And we know this because if you've ever been in a scary thing and it goes boom, you jump, because your subconscious mind can't tell the difference. So we can use that phenomenon to our benefit when we manifest. And really, the more we can sensorize it, the more we can be in the emotion. We are tricking our subconscious mind into thinking we already have it now. And so it's a really powerful tool. Again, that's what I use. So every day with my Greece trip, every day with my wellness center, I visualized it. And I was religious about that, or like religiously devoted is what I would say. Every single day, I never missed a day. Step number 3 is we release our resistance, which again, fear, self-doubt, procrastination, unworthiness, freak accidents, family emergencies, whatever it is that's preventing you from manifesting is stuck in your subconscious, keeping you out of alignment. I use neuroscience-based tools with my clients to get their beliefs and emotions into alignment with their desires. And then step 4 is just take the action, whatever that action is, whatever seems like the best action we have. And I have read The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. I love it. And that's something that has really influenced me a while ago. And if you have to jump off, we're totally good. I'm bringing this home right now. So anyways, I hope you enjoy this presentation of how to be a manifesting machine. I love talking about this because it took me so long to hack this code and create this protocol that I feel really inspired to share it with others. And so I offer 30-minute manifesting machine coaching sessions. Basically in this session, I only have a couple spots available because my calendar is basically filling up through December now. So jump on this immediately. You can go to the QR code. I also think I have, oh wait, I'll have to put the link in the chat in a minute. But basically, you could scan the QR code right now. It's a 30-minute coaching call where I am going to talk, where you're going to identify and tell me what you want to manifest. I will share with you whatever tips, and whatever tips, I clicked on the link, whatever tips that you need to get you to where you want. And then if it's an aligned for us to work together, what the steps are. So with that, I'm happy to pause the recording and open